A very good afternoon, everybody. Now we are going to discuss about object-oriented programming system using Java. I will be giving a brief introduction about OOPS. Object-oriented programming system is one of the most and important programming paradigm, and in the current scenario, it is very important. You can see that I have a list of all the Java programs that I have written. You can just go through all these lists. I will be running all these programs in my further tutorials. Discussing about before we start learning Java, first let us have a brief introduction about OOPS. Now when we talk about OOPS, object-oriented programming system, it is an object-oriented. You can see that object, that matters the most important thing. This is why I am giving a more stress on object. It is a programming paradigm which is based on concepts of objects that contain data and methods. Data and methods which we are going to discuss when we are working on class now. The primary purpose of object-oriented programming is to increase the flexibility and maintainability of the programs. If you have worked on procedure-oriented programming language, then you might have understood what are the problems of object-oriented programming language and procedure-oriented programming language. We will be discussing the difference as well. Object-oriented programming brings together data and its behavior. Behavior refers to the methods in a single location object, makes it easier to understand how a program works. We are going to discuss further. In the picture you can see an object which is an instance of class. Object is a bundle of data and its behavior. Object has two characteristics. They have states and behavior. Now we have taken an example, object house. Now state of the house can be address, color and area of the house. Behavior can be open door or closed door. So I had to write a class based on states and behavior of the house. I can do it like this. State can be represented as instance variable and behavior as methods in the class. Methods refers to function. In different languages, we call different things. Like when we are working on OOPS using Java, we will be calling these functions as methods, which I am going to discuss further in my tutorials. Now we are going to see how we create a class. You can see that when we are talking about class practically speaking about it is just a collection of data types and data types variables and methods or functions. You can see that a class house is there, and in the next section you can see just these are the variables or data types. Then there is methods or functions. This is what we have inside a class and nothing else. Just data type and methods and nothing else. In the further example we have seen, you can see. Now I have also elaborated characteristics of objects. Now further, the most important thing, we are looking about the features of OOPS. When we talk about the features of OOPS, there are 4 to 5 important features of OOPS, just like abstraction, encapsulation, message passing, polymorphism, inheritance, dynamic binding. These are the important features of OOPS in any languages, whether you are working on PHP, whether you are working on JSP or Java or C++. These things are the common common part of object oriented programming language. Now when we looked about the characteristics of object, now let us first take a I will be using the abstraction. I will be giving you elaboration of how we are moving. First, now let us take about a class. First, let us know what is a class. Now, as I have explained now, a class is a collection of data types and methods. You can see, suppose a class website is there. Further, you can see just is a collection of data types and then method is there. In this, we have also taken as constructor, which I am going to discuss further in my chapter. Constructor is nothing, but it is just name of the class, and if the function inside the class is same, then it refers to constructor, and it is generally used as automatically initializing of objects. Now this is a class. Apart from this, then we have a further main class, main methods. Now the main methods which we have, you can see that this is the name of the class, then the object, then new is the keyword which we are using to create an object. Then we have the website, this is the name of the function, and these are the parameters which we pass inside the function. You can see this is the name of the class, this is the website is the name of the class, this is the website which is the name of the class. Then object one, object is the instance of a class. That means this is going to use the variables and methods inside this class, whichever. Now let us know object one is the object, obj1 is the object of class website. Now new is the keyword which is used to instantiate an object. Now website, website is a method inside the class. Now you can see in this, since the name of the class and the name of the function, name of the function and the name of the class is same, that means it is a constructor. This goes to the faster execution and automatically initializing of the objects and takes less memory. Now in this we have the string name, we are looking for the function name, this string name and age. Now since you can see that Noida then 5, this is going to pass through the parameters string name and INTI. Now in this refers to, now web name is equals to name, that means this will be passing to this variable web name and the value 5 will be passing to the web name. Web age, now you can see that now we are using system.out.println object1, this is the object dot web name. Now this came from here, this is the web name which holds the, which is referring to the same class from which it was called to the object. Now again plus refers to a kind of concatenation, then double quotation we are referring to the space over here, then age. So we have two objects, now two print statement, then in the output you can see that there are two print statement has been displayed on the screen. Now proceeding further, now let us, before we proceed further, now let us have a look to the a brief introduction about abstraction. Abstraction is nothing, a kind of data hiding. That means whatever, when we talk about, suppose you are going to buy a fan, when you are buying a fan, you just see, you don't need to see what is the coil, but you know that coil is inside the fan. So that is the abstraction. What coil is doing and what coil is doing, you don't need it. So that is an abstraction. It is just showing the hiding the internal details and showing you the only the essential features. Now abstraction is a process where you only relevant data and hide unnecessary details of an object from the user. This is what we call abstraction. Encapsulation. Encapsulation came from the word of capsuling. When we are talking about capsule, when you open a capsule, you find that there are small balls of different colors. Now these small balls of different colors are of different things. They are capsuled together to form a single unit. Now for example, now in this system, when we talk about encapsulation, it is referring to that we are capsuling the data types and methods under a single unit called class. That means when we are making a class, that means we are capsuling it. Just like for example, in the further example which we have seen, this is a class. We have made a class and in this we have different variables, different methods. So this is what we have done. This means that we have made a capsule. Encapsulation, we are encapsulating the data types and variables. Now talking about message passing. Message passing is one of the most important feature. A single object by itself is not very useful. An application contains many objects. One object interacts with another object by invoking methods on that object. It is referred to as method invocation. Now in the picture you can see that we have different method object and every object is referring to a method and data. For example, you can see that this object obj1 is referring to this method and this class. Now this method has its own data type and variable. This class has its own data type and variable, which you can see over here. See, the class website is over here. It has its own data type and its own method. This is what is very important, and this is what we are talking about over here. Now in the diagram you can see that there are different objects. Now every object have different methods and different data. Now when an object is referring to a particular methods and data, how do a very important thing is that they communicate with each other by passing messages. We are going to work on practical with this. Now proceeding further, we have already discussed abstraction, encapsulation and message passing. We also have a separate chapter of such topics. This is just a brief introduction, so you don't need to worry about. Now further proceeding with the constructor, as I have given an example, that if the name of the class and the name of the function, if that means name of the method is same, that is referring to the constructor. It is used for automatic initializing of the objects. Now you can see that example of a constructor as I have given. The name of the class is this. Now the same name you will find in the method. Now check the method name. Name of the function is constructor example, constructor example. Now this is known as automatic initialization. This refers to and gives you an option over here that this is referring to this particular constructor, this particular method. We are also going to deal in constructor in a separate chapter. You can see over here all the chapters are listed over here: constructor, static keyword, inheritance, then everything. We are going to work out with this. I'm just giving you a brief introduction about what is OOPS. Now, proceeding further, when we are talking about OOPS features, that is abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. I have already told you that hiding the internal details and showing the essential features is known as abstraction. Now, abstraction is a process where you show only relevant data and hide unnecessary details of an object from the user. For example, when you log in to your bank account online, you enter the user ID and password, press login. What happens when you press login? How the input data is sent to the server, how it gets verified, these things are hidden from you. You don't need to know. You just need to know that when you press enter, if you have entered everything is correct, then you should access your data. This is what is known as abstraction. That means hiding what is going on inside. Now talking about encapsulation. Encapsulation, just making a class, is known as encapsulation. Making a class, that means binding together the data types and methods or functions. Now whenever we are working with Java, I will be always calling this function as method. Now encapsulation simply means binding object, state, fields, behavior, methods together. If you are creating a class, you are doing encapsulation. Now how to make instant variables private so that they cannot be accessed directly from inside the class. You can only set the values through the variables of the class. Have getter and setter methods in the class to set and get the values of the methods. Now these things comes under the visibility mode and accessibility methods like private, protected, friend function. These are the different access modifiers which we have a separate chapter for this, which we are also going to work on it. Now running these projects, we have just the output of this. You can just, I will be just showing you in my further tutorials how we run the projects. You can also check the entire list of the programs that we have. Now the class, now brief explanation about what was the program. The class encapsulation example, that is using the object of class employee count, will not be able to get the number of employees directly. It has to use the setter and getter methods of the same class to get the value. So what is the benefit of encapsulating in Java programming? At some point of point, if you want to change the implementation details of class employee count, you freely do without affecting the class that are using it. You can, now let us get back to the example. You can see over here which was explained that this is an employee. Now you can check it private method. Now these things are private. That means anything outside the class will not be accessible, cannot be accessible to this. Now anything outside the class, any object which we define, if we are defining the object outside the class, mostly we define the object outside the class almost all the time. So these objects shall not be able to use these private part. This is what is authentication. Now it will be able to use the private part. Now how then we are going to use this? We are going to use this function, and as per function, using this function, you use this, which we are going to elaborate it further. You can see that a class employee count is there. This a private uh, int number of employees is there. That means this variable is private. It cannot be accessed by any objects that is outside the class. Now you can see that this is the class. Anything outside this class, only this function and this function. Now public, these are the two functions which are inside the class, and these functions can be accessible by the objects. When the object access these functions, and these functions can access these private part, so this can be working together. This is what is explained in this, the private. Now in the further chapters I will be explaining the entire thing, private, protected and front functions. Now proceeding further, inheritance. Inheritance, what is inheritance? It is very and most important part. It gives introduction to the reusability of code. That means once we have written the code, we don't need to write the same code again and again. You are going to understand when we work practically. For example, now when we talk about this inheritance, what is inheritance? Talking about your example, you inherited something. That means a property, a quality that you gained from your parents or your great grandparents or your grandfather. That means if your father is a singer, that means when you are born, we consider that you are also a singer. In the world, you can be also a good player, a good batsman in cricket. So that means if your father is a singer, that means we understand that you are also a good singer. This is what is inheritance, the process by which one class acquires the properties and functionalities of another class is called inheritance. Inheritance provides the idea of reusability of code. Reusability of code. This is very important, and each subclass defines only those features that are unique to it. Rest of the features can be inherited from the parent class. Now a brief again. Now first let us read what it is being written. Now what is happening? Suppose in a class A is there. Whatever we have explained or written in class A, and again we inherit that class A to class B. That means whatever set of codes are written in class A means we understand that it is copied to class B. Inheritance is a process of definition new class based on existing class by extending its common data members and methods. Inheritance allows us to reuse of code. It improves reusability in your Java application. The parent class is called base class or the superclass. The child class that extends the base class is called the derived class or subclass. The biggest advantage of inheritance is that code in the base class need not to be written in the child class. We understand that indirectly. I would like to tell you that if a class A is there, whatever set of codes is written in class A means it is copied in class B. Now let us see an example. Class A extends class B. To inherit a class, we use extends keyword. Here class A is the child class and class B is the parent class. Now proceeding further, now let us have an example of inheritance. Suppose class teacher is there, and in this we have different variables. Then we have a different method. Now another class is there. Public class math teacher extends teacher. Now that means this class math teacher is inheriting the teacher. That means whatever is written inside the class teacher, we understand that it is copied to math teacher. This is what it means basically. Now again let us see string main subject maths. Now another we have different parameters, variables and methods. Now let us see how it is running. Now system.out.println obj. Now this is the object which is created of maths teacher of this class. That means this object shell can also use the parameters of this, because class teacher is inherited in math teacher. Obj.class dot ob, uh, dot class. Now let us see what is, where is the, this is now this is a variable in teacher. Likewise, I said you need to understand that these codes are pasted here. This is what it means of inheritance. Now you can see that these things can be accessible by the object of next class. Similar wise, you can see over here designation, which is of the variable of class teacher. This is what is happening. Again, now in further examples in my further chapter, I have more given the practical examples. You can just see that, read it again, and let me know if you have any questions. Now this is what happens when we have a, when we run the programs. Now we have different types of inheritance: single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multiple inheritance. In our further chapters, I have drawn the diagrams and shown how these inheritance is working. Then we are going to have a single inheritance. That means this is an example. The previous we saw is that single, this is the single inheritance example. That means a single class is inherited by a second class. So that is what is single inheritance. Multi-level inheritance is that, suppose there are three classes. Class teacher is there, math teacher is there, then again suppose there was a class principal. That means teacher, math teacher and principal. There are three class, and principal can inherited can inherit math teacher and teacher. That means two levels are there. So when there are two levels, that it comes under the multi-level. Hierarchical inheritance, similar wise, refers to a child and parent relationship where more than one class extends to the same class. For example, class A extends to class E, class A, and class C extends to class. In this, for further elaboration, I would like to give you a brief pictorial things. What is happening, you can see over here the difference part of the, we can just check. Now let us see what type of C, single inheritance. In the picture you can see a class is being inherited by the other class. Multiple inheritance, that means a single class is inheriting two classes. Multi-level inheritance, that means a single class, we have two levels in this. A is inherited by B and B is inherited by C. That comes one extra level, hence it is known as multi-level inheritance. Then we have hierarchical. You can see that a single class is being inherited by three different classes. That comes under hierarchical inheritance. Now we have hybrid inheritance. A single class is inherited by two different classes, and the same two different classes are inherited by a single class. So that is hybrid inheritance. This we are going to, we have a separate chapter with example in this. Now processing further polymorphism. Polymorphism, poly means many, morphism means form. Now polymorphism taking means taking more than one form. Now in this we have, polymorphism has two parts: overriding and overloading. In the, in this here we have divided into two parts: static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. Static polymorphism that is resolved during compile time is known as static polymorphism. Method overloading can be considered as static polymorphism. For example, method overloading. This allows to have a more than one methods with the same name of different class but differs in signature. Then we have dynamic polymorphism. It is also known as dynamic method dispatch. Dynamic polymorphism is a process in which a call to overridden method is over there. These things which we are going to discuss further in our chapters. Types of polymorphism. Now, just a different, this is what is all about the abstraction and abstracting. Everything which we are going to discuss, and we have a separate chapter. This is just a brief introduction about what is OOPS and what are the different features of OOPS. In my next chapter, I will be elaborating. I will be starting from Java introduction, elaborating how different programs are working and whatever features that OOPS have, we are going to use and execute the programs on that. In our next schedule, in our next chapter, we are going to work on Java introduction.